Hi everyone, my name is Taylor. I'm the owner of Elor Event Planning. I want to welcome you to my video today. I'm going to be talking about a little bit of the impacts that COVID-19 might be having on your wedding and kind of what to do with that information, especially if you're considering postponing, canceling, or making some sort of alteration to your wedding. I want to start off this video by saying that media and all of the wedding industry is going to push you towards postponement and not canceling. That's probably pretty obvious, their reasoning behind that. They want to keep you as a client and they still want you to be able to get married. So I just think it's important to go into any kind of article that you're reading or video watching, knowing that that's the vested interest of the person who's talking to you. And obviously, to some degree, I have that vested interest in as well. The reason most people are pushing towards postponement is also because we still want you to get married, and you probably still want to get married, and we want everything to have a happy, clean ending. So that's not a bad reason at all. I just think it's something to keep in mind. So my first piece of advice is, if you're thinking about your wedding and you're thinking about everything that's happening with COVID, is to not make any rash decisions. As you've kind of probably figured out with COVID, things are changing on a day-to-day basis, and sometimes even faster than that. So make sure you think through your thought process. Make sure you talk with your fiance or your parents if they're helping pay for the wedding, and talk to your vendors and also key players in your wedding outside of your vendors, maybe your bridal party or grandparents and people like that are going to be really important to your wedding. With that being said, it looks like at this point we're at the last day in March when I'm recording this, that April and May probably need to be looking at postponement. And that is kind of dependent on what area you're in as well. We're in New York, so that's April and May are definitely looking like they're going to need some postponement. So the first step, once you've kind of decided that you want to look into postponement or definitely doing postponement or canceling, is finding out what the repercussions of those actions are. So my first step for you would to be, after you talk with key players in your wedding, is to talk to specifically your vendors and ask them what their postponement cancellation policies are. What are the fees gonna be? Are there any caveats? Like, are there certain blackout dates? If you're looking into switching to a new date, you're going to want to know your vendor's availability as well. You're going to also want to take into account your guests. The further you wait to postpone and or cancel, the more difficult that's going to make it on a lot of people, especially if they've made arrangements to come from out of town. So you want to be sure to communicate this information as quickly as you can and make a decision within a reasonable time frame so that your guests can make their decision as well. In terms of guests, if you do decide to postpone, this might mean that your wedding looks a little bit different than you had originally planned. That might be that people have decided not to come because if you push it back, maybe they're still not comfortable with coming to a large gathering because they're immunocompromised or elderly or in another risk category. They also might not be comfortable with travel. And then we also have the financial aspect. If someone wasn't able to recoup some of their costs, although probably not the case with COVID because it's such an extenuating circumstance, they might not be comfortable with paying a second time to kind of plan to come to your wedding. There's also going to be a lot of people whose job situations are different during this time period, and a wedding can be an expense, especially for couples. Young couples tend to have like a lot of weddings over the summer, so it might be a factor as well that might result in your guest list getting trimmed down a little bit. So just kind of have that in the back of your mind, that that's a possibility, that your guest list might be a little bit different the second time around. So if you do postpone and you're deciding you want to pick a new date, you're going to want to talk to your vendors and see which dates they have available. Start with your key vendors like your venue and your caterer and possibly your photographer if that's an important vendor to you. So also, if there's any other vendor that like is a must-have for you, loop them in on that initial process of picking a date. This might be kind of difficult, especially if you've picked a peak date or you're trying to pick a peak date. So really go into the process as flexible as you can be, especially if you want to have the exact same vendor team. You might look into Fridays or Sundays to kind of give you the opportunity to have a lot of the key players that you originally wanted to come and also have the vendors come. Fridays and Sundays give you a little bit more flexibility because people are more available on those days than a Saturday. Please, 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 please lean on your vendors at this time. Even if you don't have a wedding planner, lean on your photographer, your caterer, your venue. Ask them what they can do to help and tell them what you need or what you're confused about or anything. They have a lot more ideas and connections than you might think. I know personally in the Buffalo area that all of us are connected on a Facebook group and chatting with each other. We're really working to pool resources to try and get things done for our couples because you guys are the most important thing to us. So reach out to your vendors and make sure you give them the opportunity to help you no matter what your struggle is in this kind of postponement, canceling, period. A couple side notes you're also going to want to think about is kind of how COVID is going to affect getting different goods, especially like if you're ordering a wedding dress, that timing might be pushed back. So when you're picking a postponed date or something like that, you're going to want to take that into account. If you still need to get a bunch of items that they might take longer than they traditionally take to arrive. So that's an important factor to think about, is how planned are you already and how much time and energy is it going to take for you to reschedule. And think about that as if you're working from home, you maybe have a little bit less time and you need more help and need to lean on your vendors. Whereas if you're laid off right now, you maybe have a little bit more time to invest in switching things up, but your monetary resources might not be the same, or they might be a big question mark. So there's a lot of different factors to consider, but kind of take it one step at a time. So to recap, the first step is to talk to your fiance, talk to your family, talk to your close friends, the most important people for you to have there, and your key vendors. The second step is to talk to your vendors and ask them what their postponement, cancellation policies, any caveats they have, dates they have available. And 3 is to kind of take into account how far planned you are, what information the first 2 steps yielded, and kind of where your gut's telling you to go, and decide whether you want to postpone or cancel and when you think that might be a good option. And then 4 is to lean on your vendors and hopefully your planner and to execute to the best of your ability. I hope you guys are hanging in there. I feel really terrible that all of this has happened. It really sucks that people have put all this effort into planning a really big day in their life and have to switch things and make it not what they originally planned or hoped that it could be. So just know that your vendors are feeling for you, and we really want to help you and make this the best that it can possibly be, and take a bad situation and pull together and build community and celebrate your love. So I hope you guys are hanging in there and staying safe. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email me at hello@elor or DM me on Instagram or Facebook. I am happy to help with anything I can. I'm also going to put a link on my Facebook and Instagram of some resources for people who are looking to reschedule or cancel. So I hope to talk to you guys soon. Stay safe.